Hello, I'm NP. When it comes to Hideo Kojima, I think the best way to describe him is an old-school movie director who is actually making games. The way of thinking puts him into the group of people like Steven Spielberg, Stanley Kubrick, Alfred Hitchcock or Akira Kurosawa. Kojima's games are rather a special way of storytelling that use the genre games as a medium instead of being a typical game. So Death Stranding from 2019 is not an exception. First and foremost, it's a very strange kind of game. Instead of putting itself into a game genre, it rather creates its own. So, Death Stranding is about a change from the state of being completely disconnected to being reconnected to people. Behind the surface, Death Stranding is deeply psychological. What happens in the game is actually happening in the real world as well. And because of the fact that this game came out in 2019, right before the first pandemic lockdown, it became a sort of prophecy. But in general, isolation and disconnection, they are attributes of our age. Nowadays you can have 10,000 friends whom you've never met sitting alone in your room. Instead of analyzing the rather complex story, talking about the game mechanics or tips and tricks after maxing it out a couple of times, I would rather talk about my personal experience with it. Opposed to Chris Edge, I don't script my reviews or any videos, so I have no idea what will happen. So let's crank back the time a little, just like 1995, the year when it turned out that I have some sort of autoimmune disorder. It's still not identified to this day as of 2024. I don't want to go too deep into it, but around 2016 I started to develop very strange symptoms that couldn't be connected to autoimmune disorders. Because of the severity of the symptoms, doctors believed that it's something potentially terminal. So as you can see, I'm still here. So to cut a story very short, my immune system completely destroyed my thyroid gland, and it caused a sort of chemical imbalance. Fortunately for me, it was not terminal at all, just took years to stabilize with medication. I'm sort of okay now, and I don't want to talk about it more, just about a certain symptom, losing the short-term memory. Not entirely and not permanently, just for a couple of years. Nowadays it's okay, more or less, and I can live a normal life. But back then, at first you just don't seem to notice it at all. You know, you keep telling yourself that, okay, I forgot things before, maybe I need more rest, everyone has problems, and so on and so forth. The black spots expand into minutes, and the minutes expand into dozens of minutes. And by the time when you accept that something is fundamentally fucked up, it grows into a couple of hours per day. And by the time you accept that you have a problem and you need help, all the lost hours, all the lost days, they just cut you off from most of your previous life. As the timeline that you experience becomes fractured, very fractured, you just feel to be locked inside your head and don't really seem to understand what's happening and why is it happening outside. Man, I became so messed up by 2019. I think about the end of the year when I received the diagnosis. By the time I lost my job and my driving license became suspended, So I started taking the pills around early 2020, and although things started to improve slightly, the pandemic happened, and just like so many of you guys, I lost a couple of good people to it. Your psyche and recovery are connected. So when you hit the bottom, then the recovery doesn't happen. So despite the fact that I had the proper medication, my conditions not good. 2020 was a messed up year. So to cut it short, I started to play Death Stranding shortly after it came out on the PC. A game that is all about reconnecting. And I'm pretty sure that it somehow turned on a switch in my head. It functioned like another pill that has a small effect but important because it opened the door for all the others to start to work. Sorry. It helped me out of this mess. So day by day, meds just started to kick in more, as they should have. By the time I finished the game, I was ready to start over. Death Stranding had a role in my mental recovery. Well, so much about video games ruining your life. Okay, if it went too personal, just feel free to dislike, unsubscribe, troll, whatever, I don't care. It's just a story, and a true story. Death Stranding was one of my most powerful and favorite gaming experiences ever. Therefore, it's one of the best games I have ever played. Anyway, any shit I say is a subjective opinion, so it's my point of view. Therefore, it's not a general truth. So if you don't happen to like this game, I'm fine with that. If you have any comment, negative or positive, or like, dislike, that's okay by me. But just please don't start to fight with each other, because last month it ran out of control. So despite the fact that it's just some random encounter between strangers stumbling upon the same video, people started to offend each other quite harshly. So I ended up deleting those comments. But anyway, this video is already too long, so thank you for watching. See you somewhere in time.